Welcome back. All I have to say is win or lose, love him or hate him, you know who I'm talking about. John McEnroe. He's always been good theater, and at these Wimbledon championships, he had an incident in every match that he played. No surprise there. Although in recent years, McEnroe has been dismissed during the first week every time he steps on the court. The atmosphere is that of a Wimbledon final. Jimmy took time out from his busy playing and commentating schedule to join Bud Collins for an in-depth interview with Mac.
Deuce.
Come on now! That ball was clearly outside the line. What the ball were you watching? That's a break point.
30 low.
How far out does that have to be? I mean, that ball didn't hit any chalk. It was well wide. See that?
2-1.
Let me bet $1,000 that you didn't see it, right? Right? Let me guess, you didn't see that, right? A flash, please! You gotta be kidding me! You better get with it, you know that? You screwed me in France, completely oblivious to what you were doing. Now all of a sudden you're missing calls left and right. You better open your eyes, will you? And you're warning me about 25 seconds. That's the funny part. That ball was a foot outside the line. That ball was a foot wide. I'm not exaggerating. A foot wide is close to you?
5-4, McEnroe.
Great point he screwed me on. And you did nothing about it. I even said, just do me a favor. That's all I asked. But it ought to be a great point, though, right? How far does it have to be out before you call it, huh? How far does the ball have to be out before you see one? Bullshit, that ball was close. Good call, son of a for me too, all right? After the match is over.
Acerbic and boorish, yes, but McEnroe's tennis can be so remarkable that fans not only forgive, they stand and applaud his moments of genius that remind us of the McEnroe 10 years ago. After his defeat by Stefan Edberg, he visited with Jimmy Connors and Bud Collins.
John, 10 years ago, you unseated a Swedish champion, Bjorn Borg. Today, a Swedish champion beats you. Can you go over that decade stretch and trace the progress and perhaps the decline and progress again and decline again and progress again of John McEnroe?
How much time do we have?
Yeah, that's about a 3-hour question, I know.
Yeah. In 25 words or less, it was what I remember from that is just being so disappointed that Bjorn stopped right after that. That's really when, that was really the last year he ever competed at a Grand Slam events, was 81, and it was very disappointing for me and probably for Jimmy as well, because the three of us, I felt at that time, were really, we lift each other. And now it's a different generation. It's Becker and Edberg, the two big favorites here, and here I am, like sort of the older guy playing the defending champion, so it just shows you how times change.
Don't you like that role, though? Being the underdog, you have no pressure. You're playing against Edberg, who is the best player in the world. Shouldn't that role favor you a bit?
It helps in the sense that the press isn't all over you and that the expectations of other people isn't the same as it was before. But I still feel that, you can correct me if you're wrong, but I feel that you still put a lot of pressure on yourself. You've won it before, so you know you can do it. I've beaten Edberg before, so I knew I could do that. So in a sense, you do put a lot of pressure, especially since you know that it's going to be one of your last times playing. So you know that on one hand, you want to go out there and really enjoy it and really just experience the moment. But there's still in the back of your mind thinking, hey, I have a chance possibly to win this tournament. And so by feeling that, you put pressure on yourself.
That fire still lived today, and he walked out on center court. Hey, I have a chance.
Well, I mean, I don't think really you should be playing if you don't honestly feel that way at all. I mean, there's so many people, young players, that are so eager to play, and we all have our time. And I think it's sort of wrong to hang on if you absolutely don't feel you have a chance to play. I mean, it's great to enjoy the game, but I think there's a law of diminishing returns. At a certain point, you have to sort of cut your losses, and you have to sort of accept the fact that you're not going to get any better. As a matter of fact, you're getting worse.
30-15.
Last year you lost in the first round here. I picked you last year to have a good chance to win the tournament. You had troubles here, but you went on and
lost.
yeah, but you played very well in the U.S. Open. And I even when I first saw the draw, gave you an opportunity to win the tournament here. To be honest with you, even though you were in the toughest section of the draw, I feel you can still do it. So you have to tell me, what do you have to do to still be able to do it?
Well, that's a tough call. I mean, it's a very selfish sport. I mean, when you're in an individual sport, it's extremely selfish, even more so than team sports. And as you get older, you have children, you have a family, you start to appreciate different things. Certainly, those are the #1 priority. But you have a home, which you never had when you were younger, except when you live with your parents. Your own home, your own responsibilities in that regard. And you get interested in different things. You become more interested in other things, so it's tougher to keep that focus, that intensity. It's a tremendous sacrifice in order to try to get back to the top. It's like you said, I think you have to make a determination in your mind how far you want to take it. And if you're not willing to do absolutely everything it takes, and I mean like not having a beer for a year. I mean, you know, I don't believe a guy like Lendl's had a drink in years. That's his decision. For me to make a decision like that, you know, I have enough Irish blood in me that... but you know, it really comes down to the fact that there's certain perks that you have in sports that are just unbelievably good. I mean, there's not a better job in the world in certain ways than being a professional athlete. So there's certain part of that that's very addicting. And the other side of the coin...
That's a good... the addiction of professional sports.
Well, I love to compete. Probably more.
Is it an addiction, do you think?
Well, I think it is. You get something in your blood from such a young age as I started, and I was around the tennis for so long, and Mac, and then you reach a certain point of success, being the best player in the world as Mac has been and I have been, and then that feeling that's in you from having that position and being above all else never leaves you. Now, you have to realize somewhere along the line that you cannot always play like that. That's a law of sports, that you get older. Along with age comes a lot of things. You don't move as well, you don't see the ball as well, you don't react as fast. But do you stop altogether? Yeah, you didn't want Jabbar to stop altogether when he was playing for the Lakers.
I don't want either one of you to stop. You take something away from my life.
I like to compete too, but I don't like it as much when I lose. See, Jim, I mean, I like competing as long as I win the match. I mean, you sit there and you're tearing your hair out. Why am I doing this? I can't stand, I can't take it another minute. Then all of a sudden you win the match, it's like, hey, this is great. You know, it changes that fast.
Yeah, but losing has always been a part of the game to you. I mean, you competed against me, you competed against Borg, and you had your ups and you still had your downs in losing some matches, but you still... We're in there grinding it out, and
I think losing is tougher to take when you get older, though. I really do. I think you're more aware of the consequences. It went in here, went out the other when I was young. I mean, I look at the match that I lost to Jimmy in '82 here, and I think to myself now, God, you know, I could have won that match. At that time, I was like, God, I got to the finals of Wimbledon, and Jimmy played a fantastic match and beat me 6-4 in the fifth. You know, it's too good. Now you think, like, if I had done this differently or that differently, I prepared a couple days before, so you can really beat yourself up. Well, especially when there was the rain delays and you watch the match.
Oh.
I don't think about it. I try not to think about it, you know, at other times, but it's a pleasant memory to be in the finals of Wimbledon. And I'm happy that I took it in a good way. But it does get to a point when you don't win anything for like a long period of time. It's been 6-7 years since I won a major event, that you start second-guessing those things. But you have to sort of get through that, too. I mean, all athletes think the same thing. If I had done this, you have to get through that as well, or else you'll be completely bald.
We sat here a year ago, and people have been asking me about this all year. Is Connors going to coach McEnroe? They were talking about each entering into a coaching relationship. What happened to that?
Well, I think what happened was that Jimmy decided that he was going to continue playing.
And we lost each other's number. That's what happened.
So, you know, it's, when you actually want to compete, it's like a different story. I mean, and it just didn't, it was one of those things where Jimmy still actually wants to play. So it sort of was, a lot of people came up to me. A lot of people came up to me and asked me, so is Jimmy coaching? And I kept saying, I'm waiting for the call. But then he said he was waiting for my call. And next thing you know, it's the U.S. Open. And then it was like, all of a sudden I was doing pretty well. And and then Jimmy had to go through surgery. So now it's a year later, and I don't know what the status of this situation
What's
is
the
now.
status?
Well, do you have...
I'm trying to outlast him. I mean, I've stated publicly now, my goal is to outlast him.
I'm glad to hear that.
To last longer than him. He was playing 5 years before I was, so...
Yeah, but how long do you think he's going to play?
I just hope it's not too much.
Because I think he wants...
How was that? Mcenroe. You go, please.
Keep your mouth shut out here. Let's go back to that wonderful time you played on center court and you told him to shut his mouth. And what evolved after that for you two guys? What happens when you were at each other's throats there for a couple of years?
I think when you're in the heat of the battle, it's tough because it's so individual that you really build up like something that's not necessarily there. In certain respects, you do it to pump yourself up, but on other side, it's like the lack of communication. Anyone that's with someone else, it all boils down to communication. And there wasn't a real communication at that time because there's so many other people and other forces tugging at you. But when it came down to it, when we sat around and finally, started to smell the roses a little bit, we realized that we had a lot more in common than we thought, that we respected each other, and now we in my opinion, we get along better than we ever did.
Plus, but we have two personalities that absolutely clash. It's not, it's not like Mac is playing Borg in one way, that Borg doesn't say anything, he lays back, he keeps everything inside. His attitude, my attitude, his game fit into my game fit into his game, so we were just really coming at each other like two heads of steam, big trains, and the only thing it could lead to was an eventual wreck.
No mistakes so far in this match, right? You haven't overruled anything. No mistakes whatsoever.
6 up, please.
Answer my question! The question, jerk! You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line! You got the absolute pits of the world, you know that?
You get bothered by the things like we do, the Mcenroe retrospectives, the bottles get knocked off, this is years old, and things like that. They're always with you because tape is always with you. Can you
I prefer to watch the times when I won Wimbledon in the U.S. Open than when I swung at a couple cups and, sprayed water on some spectators, but,
that was good entertainment, though.
Yeah, it made a couple of videos. So it's sort of something that I actually look at it and think it's hard to believe in a way, but yet it was me, I think. So, at the time I was going through some things. As a matter of fact, I had just met my wife, so I was really missing her. So that's the real story. I deliberately got suspended, okay, so I could see my wife. Now, people should understand that.
You use the word addiction, and you're both still here, and you're both still getting more applause than anyone else. So there must be an addictive feature there.
I guess that's one reason we're still here.
We
didn't get it as much 10 years ago. So,
when we really
were booing us.
That's right.
Hey, that's a good question. I mean, how are you going to handle that when you don't play anymore? I mean, you're used to playing in front of millions of spectators on TV and sellout crowds at every stadium.
It's unanswerable. I really don't know. I hope well.
Do you dread it?
That's one of the perks I was talking about.
Do you dread it? Leaving?
No, I don't dread it, but it's certainly something I'll always be proud of, and certainly now, I mean, admittedly, you go in and you think, why weren't they doing it 10 years ago? But, it's better late than never.